It was 1922 when Howard Carter, the British archaeologist, made one of the most extraordinary discoveries in history. In the desolate, sun-scorched Valley of the Kings in Egypt, the tomb of a previously unknown pharaoh, Tutankhamun, was uncovered, untouched by time and grave robbers. But the discovery that should have been a grand moment of celebration quickly descended into one of the most mysterious and eerie events in the history of archaeology, giving birth to the legendary curse of the Pharaohs. King Tutankhamun, a ruler of Egypt who had passed away at a young age, had been largely forgotten by history. Little was known about him until Carter's team opened the tomb, revealing a wealth of treasures, artifacts, and an opulent burial chamber. There were intricately designed golden statues, glistening jewels, and finely crafted weapons, each item representing a stunning display of ancient Egyptian craftsmanship. However, it was the discovery of the tomb itself, perfectly sealed for thousands of years, that captivated the world. What caught the world's attention, though, was not just the wealth of treasures but the chilling inscription found at the tomb's entrance. Written in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, the message seemed to carry a dire warning, one that would echo across time. The inscription, which many believe was a curse, spoke of vengeance awaiting any who dared to enter the sacred tomb. It promised that those who disturbed the pharaoh's resting place would face untold horrors, a fate more terrifying than anything imaginable. Though it was easy to dismiss the inscription as superstition or an ancient tale designed to deter thieves, something ominous began to happen almost immediately after the tomb's opening. What was once considered a superstition soon took on a life of its own as a wave of unexplained and tragic deaths began to plague those connected to the tomb's discovery. The first and perhaps most notable victim of the curse was Lord Carnarvon, the British aristocrat who had funded Carter's excavation. Only months after the tomb's opening, Lord Carnarvon fell ill with an infection from a mosquito bite he received while in Egypt. Despite his efforts to seek medical attention, he died shortly thereafter in Cairo. His death was not only sudden but also highly peculiar, considering that he was in seemingly good health before the trip. His untimely passing was enough to stir public interest, but what followed soon became the stuff of legend. At the very moment of Lord Carnarvon's death, a mysterious power outage hit London, casting an eerie shadow over the event. Was it just a coincidence? Or was it another sign that the curse had taken hold of those who dared disturb the tomb? The mystery surrounding Lord Carnarvon's death only intensified when more fatalities began to follow, each one more unsettling than the last. Among those who perished was George Gould, an American millionaire who had visited the tomb shortly after its discovery. Gould's death was equally strange. He died suddenly after being struck by mysterious illness, and it was reported that he had been the victim of an inexplicable attack just days before his death. Gould's sudden death, coupled with his involvement in the excavation, added more weight to the belief that the curse of Tutankhamun was real. It was as if the curse had begun to spread like a silent, invisible force, claiming victim after victim without explanation. The list of deaths linked to the tomb's discovery continued to grow. Archaeologists, tourists, and even individuals who were only tangentially connected to the expedition found themselves suffering bizarre fates. Arthur Weigall, an Egyptologist and journalist who had written about the excavation, died under strange circumstances. But his death was just the beginning of a chilling pattern that could not be easily explained away by coincidence. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed that a supernatural force was at work. Others believed that it was an ancient power, possibly linked to the curse, that had come alive after being disturbed by the intruders. The idea of the curse seemed to take hold of the public imagination, especially with the string of strange deaths following the discovery. By the mid-1920s, the media frenzy surrounding the curse had reached a fever pitch. Journalists and curious onlookers flocked to Egypt, eager to witness firsthand the aftermath of the tomb's opening. They asked questions, delved deeper into the lives of those involved, and searched for more answers, but the deaths only fueled the legend of the curse. Even the most rational of skeptics began to question whether there was more to the story than met the eye. After all, how could so many people connected to the tomb die in such quick succession, each death marked by its own eerie and inexplicable circumstances. For every believer in the curse, there were those who insisted the deaths were nothing more than the result of bad luck or natural causes. Scientists, archaeologists, and medical experts worked tirelessly to find a logical explanation. Some proposed the idea that harmful bacteria, possibly dormant for centuries in the sealed tomb, had been released into the environment, leading to sickness among those who came in contact with it. Others pointed to the possibility of toxic gases that may have accumulated in the tomb's sealed chambers, creating a dangerous environment for anyone inside. Yet, as the mysterious deaths continued, even the most rational minds found themselves grappling with the unsettling thought that there might indeed be a force beyond our understanding at play. Could it be that the ancient Egyptians had created some form of spiritual defense to protect their most sacred of places? Was the curse simply a means of invoking the wrath of the gods upon anyone who disturbed their sacred tombs? Or was there something even darker and more malevolent at work? These questions remained unanswered, and they became part of the allure of the story, a tale that grew more mysterious with each passing year. As the years passed, the idea of the curse continued to grow in strength and influence. The deaths of key members of the excavation team were followed by the publication of books, articles, and stories that sought to unravel the mystery. The tale of the curse was passed down from generation to generation, becoming an integral part of the story of King Tutankhamun. It became a symbol of the dangers of delving too deep into the secrets of the past, a reminder that some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. As historians and archaeologists continued their studies in Egypt, the Valley of the Kings remained a place of fascination and fear. Today, King Tutankhamun's tomb is one of the most visited tourist sites in Egypt, drawing millions of people each year. But even now, the legend of the curse lingers, with visitors and scholars alike still wondering if the ancient pharaoh's wrath will one day strike again. As the decades rolled on, the stories of the deaths linked to King Tut's tomb became etched into the annals of history, drawing both believers and skeptics. The curse of the pharaohs, once thought to be a tale for the ages, had now embedded itself into the collective consciousness of humanity. To this day, the curse remains one of the most captivating and chilling mysteries, and each new visitor to the Valley of the Kings is bound to hear whispers of the terrible legacy that lingers around Tutankhamun's tomb. In the years following the discovery of King Tut's tomb, the deaths continued. Among those affected by the curse was Sir Bruce Ingram, a prominent British journalist who had written extensively about the tomb. His wife, Lady Evelyn, had accompanied her husband on a visit to the tomb shortly before the strange deaths began. Ingram's experiences were nothing short of eerie. He fell ill shortly after entering the tomb, and as the days passed, the curse's grip seemed to tighten around him. His wife also experienced an unsettling sense of foreboding, and she eventually fell ill as well. Although both survived, the couple became convinced that there was something far more sinister at work. Sir Bruce later wrote about his experiences, attributing the strange events to the power of the curse that seemed to haunt those connected to the tomb. His writings added to the already growing legend of King Tut's tomb and its malevolent force. One of the most unsettling accounts came from the famous archaeologist, Dr. Alan Gardner, who had been deeply involved in studying the ancient Egyptian texts. Gardner was not part of the original excavation team but had been called upon to assist in deciphering some of the newly discovered hieroglyphics. His interest in the tomb grew as the mysterious deaths piled up, and like many others, he was determined to uncover the truth. Gardner believed the curse was a creation of ancient Egyptian priests, meant to ward off those who would desecrate the tomb of a royal. However, his curiosity led him to ask questions that were perhaps better left unanswered. In 1923, shortly after visiting the tomb for the first time, Dr. Gardner fell ill with a severe fever. His condition rapidly deteriorated, and within weeks, he was dead. His death, like so many others, was shrouded in mystery. The eerie circumstances surrounding his passing further deepened the public's belief in the curse. As the years went on, each new death only served to fuel the legend. The curse seemed to defy logic, its victims falling one by one, regardless of age, health, or status. A powerful sense of dread filled the air around the tomb, making it seem like an ancient evil had been unleashed, an evil that would not rest until it had taken its toll on all who dared disturb the sacred resting place of the Boy King. What made the curse all the more chilling was its sudden and unexplained nature. People didn't just die from natural causes. They seemed to suffer inexplicable accidents, illnesses, and sudden, violent deaths. Was it all coincidence? Or was there truly a supernatural force at work? Interestingly, the curse didn't just affect those who were involved in the excavation. Over time, reports emerged of random individuals, tourists, locals, and even people who had never set foot in Egypt, suffering from strange and deadly fates after speaking publicly about the tomb. The world's obsession with the mysterious deaths had grown to the point where it seemed like the very mention of King Tut's tomb was enough to bring disaster. Whether it was a fatal accident on a plane ride, a car crash, or a sudden, undiagnosable illness, the fatalities seemed to follow those who publicly discussed the tomb's treasures or its curse. The death toll began to spread beyond the immediate circle of those who had been directly involved in the excavation, and the mystery only deepened. Despite the terrifying stories surrounding the curse, many were skeptical. Doctors and experts explained the deaths away as nothing more than coincidence. They claimed the deaths were a result of poor health, the stress of travel, and even simple bad luck. But for those who had witnessed the unexplained tragedies firsthand, no amount of scientific explanation could put their minds at ease. The curse had become a phenomenon, a tale of ancient vengeance that lived on in the minds of those who believed in the supernatural. In 1935, an Egyptian official named Mahmoud Abdulrahman, who had worked in the Valley of the Kings and had been present during the opening of King Tutankhamun's tomb, became the latest victim of the curse. Like so many others before him, he died suddenly and under mysterious circumstances, and his death added another chilling layer to the story. Many of the tomb's workers, including those who had initially entered the tomb with Carter, had already passed away by this point, adding to the growing list of victims. Rahman's death was a reminder that the curse was not limited to the excavation team, nor was it bound by time. It was as though the Pharaoh's wrath had been unleashed upon all those connected to the tomb's discovery, regardless of their involvement. Even the tomb itself seemed to be a source of power. The tomb, while not as grand as some of the other tombs in the Valley of the Kings, was uniquely preserved. It had remained sealed for thousands of years, untouched by the thieves who had plundered so many other royal tombs. Some speculated that the tomb had been sealed by the ancient Egyptians with the express purpose of protecting its contents from invaders, and that the curse was merely an extension of this protection. But was the curse merely a human-made creation to protect the tomb, or was there something more at play? Something darker, supernatural, and far beyond human understanding? By the late 1930s, a sense of fear had firmly taken root in the Valley of the Kings. Archaeologists, scholars, and tourists who visited the tomb were all affected by the growing legend. Some even claimed to have felt an oppressive energy surrounding the tomb, as if something malevolent was waiting, watching, and biding its time. For many, the idea of disturbing the resting place of an ancient king was a terrifying prospect. And so, the tomb was no longer just a place of fascination for archaeologists. It had become a symbol of warning, a cautionary tale about the price one might pay for disturbing the dead. Despite the numerous deaths and the growing legend of the curse, Howard Carter himself lived for another 16 years, passing away in 1939 from natural causes. His survival, despite the apparent power of the curse, has been the subject of much speculation. Some claim that Carter was simply lucky, while others suggest that he may have been protected by his own spiritual beliefs or perhaps even by the very curse that others had fallen victim to. His longevity stands as one of the most enduring mysteries of the Tutankhamun curse. But as Carter passed away, the story of the curse was far from over. The next chapter was already being written, with more eerie tales to be told, and with the ever-present question looming: could the curse of King Tutankhamun really be real, or was it just a product of superstition, coincidence, and the vivid imaginations of those who sought to explain the unexplainable? As the years passed and the 20th century came to a close, the legend of King Tutankhamun's curse had become woven into the fabric of popular culture, a story told over and over again through books, documentaries, movies, and whispers in the dark. Though the immediate deaths surrounding the tomb seemed to subside, the stories, the dread, and the allure of the curse endured. As we ventured into the 21st century, the fascination with the boy king and the ominous shadow of his tomb's curse did not fade. Rather, it took on new forms and found new audiences. The curse, it seemed, was immortal. While much of the immediate fear had died down, the continued reverence for King Tut and the eerie tales associated with his tomb have prompted new investigations and theories. Adventurous souls still flock to Egypt in the hopes of seeing the tomb for themselves. However, the stories surrounding the curse have only grown stronger with time. Now, modern-day visitors and enthusiasts wonder if perhaps the curse is more psychological than anything else, an enduring myth that lingers in the collective mind, feeding off the tension and the unease surrounding the discovery of the tomb. Perhaps it is the power of suggestion that keeps the legend alive, a chilling thought in and of itself. But for some, even the very mention of the tomb brings a sense of unease, a quickening of the pulse, as if ancient forces have not entirely relinquished their grasp on the site. The continuing story of the curse has not only been maintained by those who claim to have experienced its deadly effects, but also by those who want to keep the mystery alive for the sake of legend and for the very essence of what it means to challenge the gods and disturb the dead. The world's obsession with the tomb is fueled by the relentless drive to explain the unexplainable. What is it about Tutankhamun's tomb that still captures the imagination of millions? And why does the legend of the curse seem to grow stronger with each passing year, even though the deaths connected to it have become rarer? The discovery of the tomb and the ensuing deaths were a monumental moment in history, not just for archaeology but for the broader human understanding of our relationship with the past. When Howard Carter first opened the tomb in 1922, the world was at the peak of fascination with ancient Egypt. The treasures inside King Tut's tomb, including the solid gold death mask, the chariot, and countless jewels, captivated the world's attention. But it was the darker side of the story, the deaths and the curse, that proved to be just as captivating. And in the decades that followed, the notion that some forces were better left undisturbed became ingrained in both popular culture and in the minds of those who ventured too close to the pharaoh's resting place. One of the most intriguing modern developments has been the ongoing fascination with Egyptology and the science of archaeology. Despite the growing understanding of ancient cultures and their rituals, the curse remains a potent symbol of the unknown, a reminder that there are still mysteries in this world that we may never truly comprehend. And yet, the tomb of King Tutankhamun remains a focus of intense research, exploration, and tourism. In 2005, an unprecedented series of medical examinations and X-rays were conducted on Tut's mummy, revealing even more about the boy king's life and death. These modern investigations, using the latest technologies, have breathed new life into the story of King Tut. However, even as science uncovers more of the physical truths of his life, the myth of the curse remains as potent as ever. Why does the myth persist? Perhaps it's because the curse represents more than just the tragic deaths of a few archaeologists. It taps into something far deeper, the human fear of the unknown, of disturbing what should not be disturbed. The curse is not merely about the untimely deaths of men like Lord Carnarvon or Sir Bruce Ingram. It is about the violation of sacred space, the consequence of tampering with something that has remained undisturbed for thousands of years. It is the embodiment of every ancient warning that has come down to us through the ages. Do not disturb the dead, for they will not rest. But in recent years, this once ominous warning has become a subject of academic debate and public fascination. As with many ancient myths, the line between reality and fiction begins to blur, and the debate continues as to whether the deaths surrounding King Tut's tomb were truly the result of supernatural forces or simply an eerie combination of coincidence, bacterial infections, and bad luck. For every skeptic who dismisses the curse as superstition, there are countless others who swear they felt the ominous presence of something malevolent lurking in the depths of the Valley of the Kings. What can we conclude from the enduring tale of King Tut and his curse? Is it an elaborate hoax, a cleverly crafted story to maintain public interest in one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of all time? Or is there something more at play, something beyond human comprehension, a force that transcends time and place, one that defies logic and reason. One thing is certain: the curse of King Tutankhamun is not just a story of death, it is a story of fascination, fear, and the power of myth to capture the human imagination. It is a tale that will likely never be fully solved, but one that will continue to captivate for generations to come. Now, as the tomb stands in the Valley of the Kings, surrounded by tourists, scholars, and adventurers, we are left to wonder: was King Tut's tomb truly cursed? Will anyone who dares to disturb his rest face the same fate as those who came before them? Or has the curse become something more, a symbol of the dangers of meddling with forces far greater than ourselves? The answers may never come, but the legend of King Tut's curse endures, as powerful and as captivating as ever. As we reflect on the story, the mystery, and the fear that still pervades the air around Tutankhamun's tomb, one thing is certain: some mysteries are better left unsolved, for there are forces in this world, ancient, unseen, and perhaps beyond our understanding, that remain untouchable. If you've enjoyed exploring the mystery of King Tut's curse and want to delve deeper into more unexplained phenomena from history, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends. Let us know in the comments below: do you believe in the curse of King Tut? Have you ever felt the presence of something ancient and powerful? Your thoughts could uncover new angles of this centuries-old mystery.